How to use a rather old program now. That's Flash. If you know Flash, you play a lot of Flash games, and we're going to just create a game called the World's Hardest Game in Flash today, and we're going to use if statements a lot. Now, when you open the folder up, you'll have to use a command called extract here using zip7. When you do that, you'll extract this folder, and what you're going to do is click on this icon. It says hard game, FLA. Now that's a Flash file. You'll see here I've got a background image and I've got an SWF. Now when you play video games online, Flash games, you're actually playing the SWF. So that's the output file of Flash. So let's go and have a quick look at Flash, and I'll just show you some of the basics. So here we go with Flash here. I'll just close this window and let's talk about what we see here. Now I've got this Essentials view. You can have different views. I've got Essential view up here when you open it up. Let's go through some of the thing. So we've got Flash, we've got File. We can do the usual things we do in a program. We can save as. Importantly, later on we can import. So you can import audio, you import video, or you can actually import pictures in. You can export, so you can actually turn it into an SWF. You can do a few things here. You can turn it into a HTML file as well. Now, edit, usual things, cut, copy, paste, go back. We can do all of that. Later on, there's some things we can do in the timeline here. I don't want to focus much about this program, these timelines. I want to look at what we can do in terms of a coding game, which just sits on one frame. We can do this. Now, really importantly, in the control section, when we create command and shift. So if I now click here, testing it, you'll see a little window will come up. Here it is, and here is the game as it stands. So I can go up, I can go down, go left and right. I come here. Now the glitch is out. I haven't got any barriers here, so I can just go over here. Now if I get hit by the bottom one, which I call the enemy, it just says you've been hit. If I get hit by the middle one, nothing happens. And I get hit by the top one, it says you've been hit again, and I can easily just go here, go here. So we've got to do a lot of work to make this program sort of a game, but it's a bit more challenging than what it is at the moment. Okay, all right. Really importantly, there's a thing that's called a timeline. Everything in Flash gets controlled by the timeline. Now we are on frame number 1, so there's frame number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it goes all the way here. Now what Flash will do, unless it's being told, it'll just continue to go along here. If you've got 5 objects in 5 frames, it'll just keep on going to those 5 frames. Because we've only got stuff in first frame, it just stays in the first frame. Now we have layers, like you have layers in Photoshop. We've got a background layer, and I'll just take out the view from that. You'll see that I've just got an image from the internet, from Cool Maths Games, and I just did a bit of work in Photoshop to create just a background image. I've got this one where I've got my players. The player is just a red box. Enemies. So my enemies are the blue dots, and I've got my actions. Now in the actions, I've got another enemy here. So really you should only have code in the action. So in the action, I've got this little dot here, there's code here. So the really important thing for us today, we're going to focus in on what happens, what the code actually does at this point. Now to see what the code looks like, I go to Window, and I come down here where it says Actions. Now we're going to be looking at a script called ActionScript, and here is ActionScript here. It's very similar to JavaScript. It's very similar to a lot of those sort of programs. Here is the code that's making my game work. The first thing I want to point out is at the very start of the frame we have a function, root underscore on entry frame equals function. So we've got a function, we've declared it. we've got an open brace, so something will happen after here, and we've got a closed brace all here. So in other words, what will happen, this creates a big loop. So when we enter the frame, we'll do all of this. When we get to the end, we'll come back up to the frame again. So we've just created this big huge loop. It just keeps on looping around and around and around and around. Okay, well that's fairly straightforward, I hope. So a lot of games built on loops. That's the way we've built a loop in this program. Now we have this code here that says if key dot is down, key dot right. Now what that means is we're looking for an event if the key is down, but the event is key down. So it's now then it looks for what key? Well, it's the right key. So if the right key is down, what will happen? What will happen is we've got this thing called player1. It's an object, or player is an object. Underscore x is the x position of the player. Now what will happen? The x position of the player will equal the x position of the player plus 3. In other words, it'll move to the right. When I hold the right key down, it'll move to the right. If I have a look at this bit of code here, key is down, left. It doesn't take a genius to figure out if I hold the left key down, I want it to go left. If I plus 3 to make it go right, I minus 3 to make it go left. And the same for up and the same for down. The strange thing about the up command is you'll notice that I actually have to minus the y position, not plus the y position. And that is because in Flash, this is actually 0.0 here, but it's not 0.500. So we start 0 here on the y-axis, and that might be 500 all the way down here. Now, that makes it go left, right, and up and down. That's fairly easy stuff. Now, the more tricky stuff is this section here, which is called a hit test. Now, all games have a hit test. Your character will be hit by something, or it'll be your character will hit something. When that happens, and if that happens, something will happen. Your character might die. Your character might kill another character. It might bounce off a wall, but something will happen when your character encounters or hits another object. Here is the code for this one. Player is the red dot. I'll have to get back into the code here. So player is a red dot. Hit test. So what happens when we hit player? Now it's called enemy 1. Now this is called enemy 1, this one here. If player hit test enemy 1, and all I've got is this command that says trace. In other words, it'll just give me an output, some text. It'll say you've been hit. Now if it hits enemy 2, which is this one here, it says you've been hit again. So that's fairly basic stuff, and that's what's actually happening when I run the code. And I want to see if I can run the code, and we'll see what the output is as I'm running it again. And here we go. Actually, I can't see the action script at the same time. We should actually, if I get hit by this one, you've been hit again. Here's the output here. As I showed you at the start, you've been hit again on the middle one. And that's what happens. Alright. Now, to make it really start to function like World's Hardest Game, what we really need to do is when it gets hit by enemy 1, we need it to relocate. We need the position to relocate. So I'll do one in this video, and my expectation is you will actually figure out how to do 4. You'll have 4 enemies here, and each time it gets hit by the enemy, it'll relocate to this position here. Let's do one now. So I've got, that's fine. Player.hit test enemy 1. What do we want to happen? I would like to change the X position of the player to another position. So I'm just going to copy this bit of code. This is the X position of the player. Okay, and I want that to equal not just one number, and I'm going to just put in 100. So the X position. So I think this is 0 here. That might be 100 here. I'm not quite sure. We'll test it. When you write a line of code in ActionScript and in JavaScript, you need to end the line of code with a semicolon, and that's a semicolon there. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to run it again. Alright, this time I'm deliberately going to get hit, and you can see what happens now. When I get hit, it bounces back. Alright, I'd like this actually start up here, so I want to change the Y position as well. So the X position is here, I'd like to change here. Alright. Okay, so what I need to do, logically I have to change the Y position. And Y position should equal, let's put 100 and let's see where it ends up. And we'll go test movie. Okay. Well, it's too high. So 100 is too high. I probably need to bring it maybe down to 350. Okay. So I'm going to change to 350 now. That's 360. Let's do 350. And let's test. Okay. Oh, it's too much. I'm not in the square anymore. So it looks like about 300 could be a good position to put it in. I might just put maybe 250. See what that ends up. Beautiful, exactly where I want it. So when it gets hit, it'll always go back to that position. Now we have to do the same thing for that. Now at the moment I'm not even getting any message on that. Let's have a figure out why that's happening. Alright. Click here for a start. Now if I go to this, so that's enemy number 1. When I click here, I don't have an instance name. Here I've got enemy number 2. This should have an instance name. It should actually be called something, so the code will recognize what to do. So I'm going to call this enemy 2. So we'll say 1, 2. I'm going to rename this one enemy number 3. Okay, so it's enemy number 1, 2, 3. So what we do is we get back onto to have a look at the actual timeline, and then we click on here in the properties window. We can rename this. Now let's go back to the code now. What I meant to do is now I'm going over to how I did that. I don't think I'll make a difference. All right. Okay, so when I get hit by number 2, well, all I need to do is just cut and paste this line of code, so that I want the same thing to happen. Alright, test movie. Okay, so we've got some problems here because that actually went to too many frames. But let's see if we can get it to work. We can't even get it to work properly. I've made a mistake here when I was doing some things in here. I've actually dragged that to there, so I just need to do a bit of, won't take me long, I'll just do a bit of timeline. There you go, and I should have all sitting on one frame, but unfortunately I did something before. Timeline, remove frames. There, that's where I am. Now we'll test it. Okay, now if I get hit by number 2, I go back here. Number 3, I haven't got any code for number 3. I'm going to let you figure out how to do that. So that's your challenge, you have to do number 3. And you also need to get 1 going here. Now, what this is here, it's a movie. So I've created a little movie here. The movie will just go back and forth and back and forth. This movie goes back and forth and back and forth. So what you need to do is grab this, you copy, okay, you're going to then go, I'm going to put it into this one here, I'm going to go paste. You know, you can see it's there, I don't want it to be there, I want it to be roughly about there. Now that should go back and forth. Let's see if that's the way, let's see if it works. Okay, beautiful, that works there. Alright, so now, you also now need to go and give this an instance name, not enemy number 2, number 4. And I can save that. And then you need to put some code. Remember to find the code, you go here, click here, we go actions, and we need to put some code here. So far we've got number 1, number 2, we have to put the same code for number 3 and for number 4. Let's see how we go. And I'll show you later on how to bounce off walls, etc, etc, etc.